Chapter 204 Reward. In the beggar model flying car, and Zhao Soxui took a step into the air. With a wave of her hand, the 30-odd silver pills that she had thrown out earlier flew back. However, she did not take it back directly. Instead, she controlled the pills to dive into the seawater below and swam a few times to wash away the blood before bringing it back. But these silver pills were still slowly circling above Zhao Xu's head. They maintained a certain strategic speed and were on guard. And Zhao Soxui had launched a surprise attack just now because these silver pills could not reach a strategic speed in an instant. That was why she had launched a surprise attack the moment the car window was lowered. Otherwise, the silver pills would not be able to break the bulletproof windows of these repulsive force flying cars if they did not reach a certain speed. Even if the window was broken, the lethality would be greatly reduced. In the car, Zhu Tui looked at the 30-odd silver pills dancing above Zhao Xu's head with envy. This was the benefit of having the ability of crowd control. She was not afraid of numbers. On Zhu Tui's side, he would be at a loss if there were more than 4 opponents. Zhu Tui had called in Zhao Soxui earlier. He roughly described the danger he was facing. And Zhao Soxui did not ask much. She only asked Zhu Tui to come up with a combat plan based on his actual situation. She would rush over as soon as she was ready. Zhu Tui had already come up with 2 battle plans to deal with the Black Sword and pirates. He had also come up with an emergency battle plan. One of the battle plans was a relatively dangerous pursuit. If the Black Sword and pirates caught up to Zhu Tui in a short period of time, they would use this plan. The other battle plan was the one he had just implemented. They quickly arrived at the receiving area where Zhao Soxui was. They stopped the car and Zhao Soxui entered the car so that they could counter-ambush. He'll be on guard. The 2 of you check their supplies, equipment, and personal communication devices. Put all the corpses into the trunk or the back seat. Remember to use their biological information to unlock their repulsive force flying cars first. Under the sea breeze, Zhao Xu's silver hair danced in the wind. Her body emitted a faint mind power fluctuation as she sensed the movements in all directions. In the repulsive force flying car, Xun Ziqiang's face was inexplicably red. He was excited. He had naturally heard of Zhao Xu's name before. He had watched Zhao Xu's live battle with Haruji. He knew that Zhao Soxui was very strong. However, he did not expect her to be so ridiculously strong. She had killed so many people in an instant. Xun Ziqiang felt that this was not a counter-ambush. This was called a massacre. And Zhao Xu's order woke Xun Ziqiang up. He took out another backpack from under his seat and put on the equipment as quickly as possible. It was a repulsive force flying skateboard. Then, Xun Ziqiang used the repulsive force flying skateboard to fly at a low altitude. He followed Zhao Xu's instructions and cleaned up the battlefield. Zhu Tui was dumbfounded. Darn it, old Xun was really well equipped. However, this also showed the importance of the repulsive force flying skateboard. Zhu Tui felt that he had to put his special flight license on the agenda after he returned. He had to consider the repulsive force flying skateboard. There was a lot more. Suddenly, Zhu Tui realized that there were a lot of things that he needed to purchase, but he did not have much money. You're not planning to stay cooped up in the car like this, are you? And Zhao Soxui, who was still wearing her mask, suddenly looked at Zhu Tui. I don't have a flying skateboard, Zhu Tui argued. Then doi, Zhu Tui was stunned. He suddenly understood what Zhao Soxui meant. She wanted him to try stepping on air. Actually, for mystery branch cultivators with powerful mind power, stepping on air was not a mysterious and complicated technique. It was actually an instantiation of mind power. He also had to control his mind power. Simply put, he could use his mind power to create something that looked like a step that he could stand on. Then, he could use his mind power to support it and stand on it. He would be able to step on air like that. Zhu Tui thought for a moment and pushed open the car door. He immediately used his mind power to create a mental board that he could use to land his feet on. He controlled it with his mind power. Then, Zhu Tui slowly stepped on it. In an instant, he swayed and almost fell into the sea. However, he quickly adjusted his mind power after the initial chaos. He stabilized himself after a short minute. He then used his mind power to create a second mental stepping board. He stepped onto it. It swayed a little, but it was much better than the first step. Zhu Tui was like a child learning how to walk for the first time. He walked on air on the surface of the sea, but his progress was rapid. 3 minutes later, not only was he able to walk steadily, but he could also help Zhong Ziking carry things. Zhu Tui could already walk in the air at the speed of an ordinary person. However, he was a little slow and a little careful. He was not as suave as Zhao Soxui. Zhu Tui felt that he should train his ability to step on air after he returned. If he were to act cool with this, he would be invincible. In that case, can I fly on a flying sword? A few thoughts instantly flashed through Zhu Tui's mind. However, they were still in the danger zone. It was not the time for him to try out new ideas. He quickly followed in Zhao Xu's instructions and cleaned up the battlefield. Zhu Tui, stay alert, and Zhao Soxui suddenly said, "All right, Miss N." Zhu Tui released his mental perception. The flying sword and silver pills began to slowly circle around him to maintain its strategic speed. And Zhao Soxui first waved her hand at the surface of the sea. The corpse of the leader of the Black Sword and pirates, who had fallen into the sea, rose from the sea and flew towards Zhong Ziking. "Put it in the car. His bounty is the highest." Zhong Ziking, who had caught the corpse, felt a chill down his spine. However, a strange look appeared in his eyes. Bounty! Of course, Zhong Ziking knew that basically all the famous pirates had different bounties on them. The bounties were mainly cash and contribution points. However, hunting and killing these pirates was much more difficult than clearing missions. They would take a longer time, and suffer a little when clearing missions. Of course, there were definitely a lot of dangers, but at least they had a target. If they wanted to hunt these pirates with bounties on their heads, it would be very difficult to track them down. Hearing in Zhao Xu's words, Zhong Ziking suddenly realized that the difference between people was too great. Before this, when he knew that the Black Sword and pirates had already targeted them for plunder, Zhong Ziking only had one thought in his mind: to save his life. He even thought of spending money to buy peace. In any case, even if he spent a large sum of money to hire private security, he would still earn the remaining money. However, he did not expect Zhu Tui to not only save the money, but he had also thought about the bounty a long time ago. No wonder Zhu Tui would contact his teacher directly. Thinking of this, Zhong Ziking could not help but give Zhu Tui a thumbs up. Zhu Tui chuckled and did not reply. The information a Huang provided contained information about these people's bounties. In particular, there were many bounties on the leader of the Black Sword and pirates. Of course, Zhu Tui did not think about the bounty at that time. It was just a thought. Most importantly, he wanted to return safely. It was also at this moment that Zhao Soxui suddenly flew extremely close to the surface of the sea. She retracted her silver pilsel and sent her boundless mind power deep into the sea. Gradually, the seawater surged, and a luxurious repulsive force flying car that was almost the same color as the seawater gradually floated up. The current repulsive force flying car had a floating function to begin with. It was also sealed and waterproof. And Zhao Soxui had arrived at the designated area early. She used the floating function of her repulsive flying car to hide it under the shallow sea to prevent the pirates from discovering her repulsive force flying car and alerting them. At this moment, she lifted her repulsive force flying car out of the shallow sea. At the same time, she had already remotely activated her repulsive force flying car, causing it to float in the air. It's my turn to be on guard. Hurry up and clean up the battlefield. We have to leave quickly, and Zhao Soxui said. Actually, they cleaned up the battlefield very quickly. They loaded the corpses into the vehicles and searched for their personal belongings. Soon, they obtained the results. Miss and Brother Zhu, we've found 11 anonymous trading cards, 9 personal communication devices, 2 special frequency communication devices, and other weapons and equipment. They're all at the back of the car. And Zhao Soxui did not feel much, but Zhu Tui felt an indescribable sense of reversal when he heard that. 11 anonymous trading cards. Darn it, did the pirates rob them? Or had they robbed the pirates? and Zhao Soxui glanced at Zhu Tui and threw the bag containing the anonymous trading cards and the pirate's communication device to Zhu Tui. You keep it, get in the car. Each of you will drive a flying car. You and little Jung will bring another flying car behind your flying car. My flying car will be on patrol, and Zhao Soxui instructed. Zhu Tui was stunned. We're taking all the flying cars? Of course, Brother Shu, this flying car is worth a lot of money. Even if we don't use it, we can sell it at the second-hand market for a sum of money. Before Zhao Soxui could say anything, Zhang Ziking said. Zhu Tui looked at the common Zhao Soxui and immediately came to a conclusion. This was definitely not the first time Zhao Soxui had done something like this. She was very familiar and experienced with it.